let's talk about the dollar first of all. We talk about the dollar being a house of cards, being a Ponzi scheme. Explain to the people why we believe that's what it is.
So the reason why I had to take a breath there, the reason why I think it's a Ponzi scheme, right, and the facts are that everything points, right, if it smells like a duck, looks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck, right?
Yeah.
It's the reason is that everything is about stealing from the future, right? From the future citizen, the future money that the country is going to make. That's what we're going to use to continue spending. So that sounds like a lot like robbing Peter to go pay Paul, right? And that's exactly what it is. We are Peter. We are getting robbed, and
Yep.
they're paying Paul with our money, right? And everybody's like, this is the greatest asset ever. And a lot of countries around the world, right, also are sometimes like Peter, right? They get robbed because they're all depending on the US dollar, and the
Yep.
US dollar goes up in inflation. Their currency gets inflated even more. There's a bunch of other dilemmas and issues. In a lot of countries, right? We've talked about this, the BRIC nations, right? They're coming together and they're saying, you know what? We don't need to be working on the US dollar reserve. We don't need to be transacting on the US dollar. We can make our own agreements to work on our own currency backed by hard commodities that has nothing to do with a debt system like the US has, and it's going to be a way more powerful currency. And it's happening. You don't hear about it. You're not going to talk about
Which is
it,
purposeful.
but it's happening.
Dollar will not be the world reserve currency for much longer because of the fugazi that is this debt and out of control spending and being the savior of the universe all the time. It's just absolutely out of
look how
control.
fast things have spiraled out of control, right? You mentioned earlier 2001, right? Late 90s, Bill Clinton, right, was blowing people away with how much money we were making in the United States. From 2001 to now has been 22 years. In 22 years, we have spiraled out of control into this massive debt, right? In 22 years. Where are we going to be in another 10 years? I was saying 22 years is how long it's taken for us to spiral fully out of control from 2001 at a surplus to now, right? Where are we going to be at the end of this decade? 8 more years, 7 more years from now, right? That's almost half of how long it's taken us to get here. And it's only going to continue growing, right? We're talking about the debt ceiling being raised again, and then in a few years or another 2 years, another debt ceiling is going to be raised up again and again and again. So how much further are we going to go into debt by the end of this decade? And this is why we talk about cryptocurrencies. This is why we talk about the US dollar dying. And at some point, there has to be a shift. The greatest transfer of wealth is occurring, whether it's to Bitcoin, it's to Ethereum, it's to whatever BRIC nation currency they're getting created. It is happening right here, right now. And the only thing that is a guarantee is that your US dollar buying power is on the down. And there's not gonna be no up on your US buying dollars for the rest of the decade. It's not. The US dollar is on its last legs. There's a lot of historical data pointing to empires falling after 270 years. Every currency that's ever existed has collapsed. And I think we're seeing it right now.